it's a big service around here. I don't know if you had your coffee, so I actually didn't have a chance. There's
Could I give one to Perry?
you know what? Your assistant out in the lobby.
Yeah.
She actually is. There's a coffee for her, and I think they've already taken care of it.
Mr. Constable Devine?
Yeah, it's Sean Devine.
Sean Devine. That's a popular name around London.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Are you from
I'm
London?
actually from London. Yeah, this is my hometown.
Now, your parents didn't live somewhere on Florence, York Street?
No.
No?
No, they didn't.
Because I had a... Yeah, I mean, I know the Devine name, so thank you.
Yeah, my family's, we're all from London here, so.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, there's milk and cream there, or whatever you need.
Black will be fine.
Just get something out of the way here. Just want to formalize it there, just to let you know RCMP.
Okay.
Sean Devine. How do you want me to refer to you? Mr. Fontana, Joe?
Joe's fine.
Joe's fine? Okay, I appreciate that. A couple formal things. Gotta get out of the way here. So I have spoke with some of the arresting officers, the ones that came to the lobby there, in regards to this, and I just wanted to go over it. You were treated okay today since you've been here?
Fantastic.
Okay. Is there any questions in regards to what you have been arrested for? No questions? Okay. And you spoken to your lawyer?
Hmm?
Okay. And you understood the advice you were given by your lawyer?
Yes.
Okay. Just going to go over a secondary caution. So if you've spoken to any other police officer or any other police officer spoken to you in connection with this case, I want to make it clearly understood that I don't want to influence you in making any statement. Okay? Do you understand?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Get that part out of the way. Yeah, basically just, that's a secondary question, so I think we've covered that. I just want to basically, so you understand what we've done here. So I've been part of a team, like a task force team that's been involved in this investigation. It's been ongoing since before the media releases broke. Okay, since before anything came forward in the London Free Press or anything like that, we had an ongoing investigation leading up to that. Okay, just want to let you know that that's clear. So I am the lead investigator in this file. I've been running just a team of 5 individuals. They were all senior investigators. They've all been handpicked for this. They were handpicked due to their professionalism, their fairness, and their attention to detail with this investigation. Okay, you understand that? So
You've been very, very good.
Okay.
So am I.
Yep.
Of course, I've always been.
Yes. Learned a little bit about you through this process. I guess I believe your father was
In Italy.
in Italy.
Oh, born in Italy.
Okay.
And we moved to Timmins, Ontario in 1954, but my father was a policeman. Just at a time when you could be about 5'6" or 5'7".
Yeah.
Not worry about it. But he never, obviously, when we came over, it wasn't.
Sure.
It wasn't in that profession. It was other things, but.
Yeah. The height doesn't run very big in my family as well.
Not necessarily.
So I think even with our organization, I've heard a few people say, I don't know how true it is, but you used to have to be like 6'3" to be in the army, and
Exactly.
thank God for the change of the times, or I wouldn't be here. Oh, sorry, Sean, I'm just yep. Gentlemen. colleague there just wanted to let me know that your client was taken care of with a coffee. I didn't think that was all that important, Joe, but they seem to think that was important, so
Thank you.
it is what it is. So, anyways, I forget what we were going with it.
Yeah, you were saying that you had started this some time ago.
Yeah. So So anyways, I know we were talking about height.
Oh yeah.
Our lack of vertical jump there. So myself and you were never basketball players.
No, I was a baseball player. And
You played some baseball?
musician. I was well, everybody in Timmins, Ontario, that's where I grew up.
Right.
They were either good hockey players or whatever. So
Right.
Shania and I are the musical.
Shania, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Shania playing. One other thing, just to go over formality. Anything in this interview, I just want you to be known like it's a caution. Anything you do say in this interview room, anytime during while you're under police arrest, could be used in court as evidence against you. Okay, I think we beat that to death probably today. I don't know how many times that's been going over, but I want you to be aware of that. So anything you do say can be admissible in court.
Okay.
Timmins, Ontario. So when did you? What brought you to London then?
School primarily, except my first school was University of Waterloo.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be a chemical engineer, so I thought.
Okay.
And then I went to Waterloo with a bunch of friends from Timmins because there was no other real university there. We could have gone to Sudbury, but once you wanted to get out of the north, you want to go to the south. And so
Sure.
did my first year at Waterloo. And then a bunch of us decided after that first year, because I figured out I wasn't meant to be an engineer.
Sure.
We went on the road. I'm a musician, so 6 or 7 of us decided to play for about a year.
Yep.
And met my first wife there.
Yeah.
And then moved to London in, I think it was 1970, 71.
Wow.
Went to Western,
Sure.
couldn't finish. I was looking at, I had 2 kids. I inherited 2 kids.
Okay. Through the marriage, yes?
Yeah, through my
Okay.
first one.
Yep.
Great kids, except I lost my stepdaughter in 2006 to breast cancer.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And so, then I decided to go and work for Firestone, London Life. And then in 1978, I started a business, insurance business, and I got elected my first time.
Wow.
Municipal councillor. And from there it's history, because in 1988,
Yeah.
I went federal. I spent 18 years. And retired in 2000 and, geez, time flies, 6.
2006.
I was enjoying semi-retirement, at least my wife after 18 years, my second wife, who's been with me since 30 years.
Vicky?
Yeah, thought that was the best thing that ever happened to me. But
Yeah.
2 years later, or 2.5 years later, decided to
Yeah.
run municipally again.
Yeah, run for mayor.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I don't know everything about Joe Fontana, but it's definitely an interesting story. So I actually, like I said, London's near and dear to my heart. Actually, I'm a hometown boy.
So is Constable Panelak.
Yeah, Bob Palamak.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is, which is actually very rare in our organization. We work all over, although Bob and myself have worked in various locations. So I started, I'm a typical Mountie, I guess I started in Nunavut. I don't know if you have, okay, so whereabouts?
Well, let me see, a couple of times, Jack Anawak. I don't know if you know Jack. He was a member of Parliament.
Oh, okay, Jack, I thought you meant a hamlet of Nunavut. I was going to say, never heard of Jack Anawak.
He was the MP, and he brought me up to Nunavut, Iqaluit.
Okay, yeah.
And we were delivering a baby. He had me home, it was a 6-day-old baby.
Wow.
And that was the tradition of the Inuit, right?
Yeah.
If it was a family,
Yeah.
they were going to give to another member of the family.
Oh, wow.
And so he brought me up there, also doing some political stuff.
Sure.
But they didn't tell me, they put me into a non-smoking hotel.
Okay.
And I'm a smoker.
You still smoke?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I used to smoke.
Minus 60 degrees in January
Okay.
in Iqaluit.
Yeah.
I had to go out to have a smoke.
Yeah.
I put it up there. I couldn't get it.
You couldn't in the air.
It was frozen to my lips.
Oh wow.
And it was my fond memories of the north.
Sure.
I think our caucus went up there one year.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I love the north and Nunavut. And in fact, a Londoner, I believe Terry Ferris, he used to be a controller,
Okay.
ended up being a deputy minister up there
Okay.
when it became a new territory.
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, interesting up there.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was, yeah, sometime around 99 maybe it became a territory. I'm not sure. So I think
Yeah, so it would have been around that.
around that period of time. Sometime around there, yeah. So was it actually a Iqaluit then, or was it,
No, it was a Iqaluit then.
okay.
But I don't know, I'm trying to remember when it became a territory. Because I remember there was a big function in Ottawa, obviously, and
Yeah.
so forth. But
Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, I say that, it used to be called Frobisher Bay, I think,
Yeah.
before it was a Iqaluit, so.
Yeah.
Back in at that time, but it's, you know, it's a unique community for sure. It's like being in Nunavut was like being, you know, I've traveled a little bit, probably not as extensively as you, but like it was another world to me up there. Being from London,
hey,
I think I got my my post probably 2 weeks before I left depot in Saskatchewan, Regina, Saskatchewan. They said, no, you know, you're going to Nunavut. And I actually thought I was going to Toronto. And I'll never forget it because 2 weeks leading up to that time, it was right before graduation. It was high pressure. You know, we had to pass our firearms. We had to pass our vehicles. We had to do some you know, real life scenario type situations. And I didn't really have time to kind of get to the library and like figure out kind of where I was going. So, needless to say, it was right before Christmas. I'll never forget it. We had to. I got sent up there because a couple members there needed to get home for Christmas. There were a bunch of people from Newfoundland, and I had to get up there quick. Long story short, I was up there a couple days before Christmas. Didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare. Basically, they just said, pack a trunk, throw some soup in there because grocery store's expensive.
I think I went into a grocery store up there just to check the prices. I think a turkey was something like about $12 a pound.
Oh yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Or a can of Pepsi, I can remember,
Yeah.
just for comparison,
Sure.
was $2 or $3.
Yeah.
Everything was just
Expensive, astronomical. A case of pop, I remember, was over $50. Yeah, it was over $50 because they sell it by the can and there's no discount.
Yeah, and I remember because when I was involved in housing portfolio,
Sure.
we were trying to find housing for the Inuit there. And of course, it used to cost something like about $280,000, $300,000 to build a house over there. Because one, you couldn't find any contractors, and two, you'd only have 2 times a year that you can actually bring in that stuff,
Right.
the materials and so on and so forth. So everybody was insulating their homes so much because the cost of fuel, of heating your home was more than what the house was worth.
Right.
So they would put tons of insulation, and the rooms you used to get
Right.
smaller and smaller and smaller
Yeah.
because that's the only way they could save, right? Was to
Exactly.
insulate like crazy. So it was.
Yeah, no, it's, it was absolutely, yeah, it's very, very expensive.
But beautiful people, though.
They are. They're, you know what? They opened their doors for me while I was there. You know, really, and that's the type of policing I wanted to do. And
Got caribou on the roof.
sure, yeah, polar bears even. You know, like polar bear hunting up there, and yeah. So anyways, where I was going with the story was I'll never forget it because I remember, you know, like I said, pack the trunk, the soup, the whatever. And I flew from, I think it was London to Toronto, Toronto to Ottawa, first air up to Iqaluit, and then it happened. So all of a sudden, you know, I was told before I go, bring your red surge. You know, new rookie police officer. You know, you got to bring your
Absolutely.
You got to bring your the boots, the hat, and our hats are they come in a like a wooden kind of crate just to make sure that our peak, our brim never gets kind of crinkled or anything like that. So I couldn't check this hat. So you know, all the way along, I'm, you know, the new Mountie coming up there, and I showed up at the Iqaluit airport, and right away she goes, "Oh, you must be the new cop in town." And because I got my hat on, I mean, I'm not gonna hide anything. And then shortly thereafter, I walk out to the airport. It's just before Christmas, it must have been minus 50. All of a sudden, you know, I traveled a little bit before then, but not really. This plane was like,
Been there. And I bet you everybody was carrying Tim Hortons packages like crazy, because that's what they say. If you're ever gonna go and visit,
yeah,
you better bring tons.
yeah.
I think we were on that plane, and Jack and I, and everybody that was coming from, I think it was a direct flight from Ottawa to
Could have been, yeah.
right? Or first day or two. Bringing tons of Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons, yeah. I got on the plane, I sat directly behind the pilot. I've never sat that close to a pilot before in my life. You know, I think I've been down south a couple times, and I remember sitting right behind him, and the ice shield was just like, it was thick. They started it up like a car you would hockey practice at 6 o'clock in the morning. He got a credit card out, and he literally scraped off just an area about that big.
Gave you an awful lot of confidence.
And you know, like, you fire it up, and the heat slowly went, and we took off before this thing was actually cleared. Everybody behind me was speaking in Nuntatug, their traditional language, and I had that, at that time, the little research I'd done, I did not,
Learn a little bit?
you know, I learned enough to try to get by like you would in any country, just to kind of be polite, I forget a little bit of it now, but I felt like Richie Valens on La Bamba, and that little plane, I know they saw the movie La Bamba, where it went down, and I'll never forget that, so,
Well, what a way to start a career, though. That's how you're gonna do it.
It was actually, because you know, I worked in 2 spots, and right away it became like, you know, it was a 2-man post, so you know, I was assistant chief of police, but about you know, 1-day service, so it was you know, there was lots of responsibility, so but the community was very welcoming, so I hope to get back there one day, but absolutely, but we'll see. Like I said, I'm from London, I've been fortunate enough to get back here, so I've started a family myself now, and a couple little guys, and you know, so it's nice to be back and have the kids close to grandparents. And
Oh yeah, it makes all the sense. I'm Italian, so
Sure.
is everything.
yeah,
Vicky, my wife, is Polish, so there's a big Polish contingency.
for sure.
Family.
Yeah.
So when we get together for Thanksgiving or whatever we do,
Right.
it's 30, 35, 40 people,
Wow.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's nuts. So family's everything,
Yeah,
because that's our tradition, right? I mean,
Sure.
It's always been, even in Timmins for that matter.
yeah, family's very important to us as well. So.
Except for 18 years, I was in Ottawa, Monday through Thursday. I was away.
Okay.
I'd come home on Thursday night or Friday, and I'd say to Vicky and the kids, okay, we're gonna do this, this, and this, and they said, look, we've already planned our weekends, and so on and so forth, because 18 years, I mean, that's a long time. I mean, that was never the plan,
Yeah.
right? You know, and I figured 6, 8 years, right? That was enough, but then all of a sudden you get immersed, you do this, you like what you're doing, 18 years later.
Yeah. You kind of just, I mean, I hear you. You kind of just wake up and you go, you know, where's
Where's the time
the
going?
time gone? Exactly. So, no, I feel that in a lot of cases. Like, I mean, even just watching my kids grow and stuff. It's
How old are they?
very young. They're 2.5 and a baby. So,
Oh,
it's like, you know, it's like I blinked and he's turning around, and you know, so we're still up a little bit at night and stuff like that. But yeah, it's one of those things. So, but yeah, I actually grew up. You used to be in the northeast end ridings, or how was that?
well, it was, when I first got there in 1988, it was known as London East,
Yeah,
and then it got changed to London North Centre. The boundaries got changed,
yeah,
and so it became London North Centre. God, for 16 years of the 18 that I was there,
yeah,
and yeah.
yeah. So I grew up.
But my first house,
Sure.
when I got to London, was on in Nelson Park. Was Toulon Crescent. In fact, well, he was in the army. Mark, he was lost in Afghanistan. Knew his parents
Oh, wow.
and Remembrance Day and all that.
Okay.
Toulon Crescent was my first place. That's where my son Joe was born, or Hugo,
Yeah,
in 1972. Then we moved to Huron Heights.
sure.
And then I moved to Wyndham, and then Arva. I've been in Arva for, what, 17, 18 years.
Yeah, I lived a little bit on Arbor Glen, actually.
Okay, well, yeah, well, not that far.
Yeah.
Kips Lane area?
Yeah, my mom, we definitely struggled as a family growing up. My dad was in another city, and I mean, he was around, but workaholic type of guy, and yeah, single mom. We grew up on Kips Lane. Yeah, it was a rough little neighborhood. Yeah. So I think it's gotten a lot worse since I've left London and since come back. But yeah,
Well, an awful lot of good development is occurring.
absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
the new stuff that's going on in Adelaide and Kips has been helpful, but it was. But you know, when the first year that we came to Western, all my friends lived in that Kips Lane area because it was close to the university, it was affordable as heck, and so always liked that.
Yeah.
But you're always going to have little pockets.
Yeah.
Where in fact,
I'm definitely what you would call EOA.
yeah, I've been in the east of Adelaide for practically most of my life.
Yeah, and that's near and dear to my heart. I mean, so yeah, it's always considered myself. I went to Montcalm High School.
Okay, yeah, well,
So
I lived in Tewksbury exactly.
yeah, so
Mike and Janet, I'm trying to think. They went to John Paul,
okay,
I think, but I thought there was one year where they went to Montcalm.
okay.
But I've been to Montcalm an awful lot, you know, in my career, but,
Mike's your son,
yeah,
and Jen, your
daughter,
your
with stepkids
okay,
that I inherited from Vicky, my second wife. So my life was, I married Marilyn,
yeah,
and she came from Kirk and Lake. I was on the road, and I inherited two kids, Sean and Charlotte.
yeah,
Then in 1980, 81, we got separated, unfortunately, and always had a good relationship, of course. But then met Vicky. She had two kids,
wow,
Jennifer and Michael.
Right.
Fortunately, they were the same age as Joe or Hugo, as we call them, and so got along,
Wow.
all that sort of stuff. Really, really
yeah,
well.
yeah.
So it's
It makes a good little mix for the family. It's nice that everything was the same age
yeah, exactly.
and all the rest of it. So yeah, so yeah, it's a little bit more. Yeah, so I guess getting back to London and stuff, like London was very good to me. Had a lot of good memories. I guess just,
The divine family name is, I mean, you must have an awful lot of relatives. I mean, your mom, mom, dad still around?
my dad has passed now. Actually, unfortunately, passed years ago. My grandmother used to live right near Noble Park area, so
Okay.
yeah. So my grandfather was in construction. He's passed now too, but worked bulldozer driver for TCG, and you know, so yeah. So I don't know if that's why that's. I know you're in a little bit of development stuff, but
Yeah, TCG, well, yeah, I mean,
your site construction.
yeah. My father died when he was young too, 65. I think he
You
received his first pension check and then he was gone.
Yeah, that's too
Of 1990.
Wow.
And after that, it was the first time that my mom and I and my son, Hugo, got back to Italy
Okay.
in 35 years.
Wow.
My father used to take my sisters all the time, but for some reason I had no inclination.
Sure.
But we had promised, you know, when Dad was still feeling fine, that we'd go back
Yeah.
to Italy and so on and so forth. So he died. We weren't able to. So my mom and my son and I went. It was the first time in 35 years.
Wow.
Been there a few times now, but
Yeah.
number of times. But yeah, because he was relatively young, and I just lost Mom in 2005. That was just horrendous. I lost my brother-in-law, my daughter-in-law, my sister Adriana in 2006. Inside of a 2-year period, I had 6 deaths in the family.
Wow.
So it was a crazy period.
Yeah. What is it, if you don't mind me asking, with regards to your family?
My father it was a brain hemorrhage.
Okay.
For some reason, it just happened.
Kind of a fluke thing.
My stepdaughter was breast cancer. My sister, Adriana, was lung cancer.
Okay.
My brother-in-law was stomach cancer.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Sister-in-law was, I think, liver cancer.
Wow.
So in fact, even my former wife
Wow.
was cancer. So, who else? I mean, Mom. Well, it was leukemia, but London saved her, right? I mean, she came.
Best hospitals in the world, isn't it? Yeah.
And they saved her from, they said, Joe, if you can 5 years would be fine. I think it was 12 or 15 years, and like I said, in 2005 she passed away in July, and yeah, I mean, it's tough losing family, right?
It is a very, very
Especially
tough.
mothers, I mean, dad.
You know,
Yeah,
Moms are
yeah,
tough.
I still have my mom, Joe, thankfully for sure. But you know what? Definitely when the day comes up, that one's going to be a tough pill to swallow. I was close to my father, and it was he passed before he was 50, unfortunately. He kind of passed. He passed at a time where I was kind of just peaking. You know what I mean? Like finished school,
Yeah.
career. You know, I wasn't too far into this job right now, and he passed, and it's one of those things that you know. It does. It still bothers me today. I mean, I have a family now, and it's one of those things that, you know, like, yeah, I wish Dad was around for sure.
me too. 65 anymore. I mean, you know, everybody's living till, and my father-in-law and mother-in-law are still around, but you know, they're going through health issues. But they're 85 and 86
Right.
anymore.
Yeah.
I went to see my aunt the other day, and she's the last living person of my on my mother's side.
Yeah.
91.
Yeah.
She's the oldest sibling.
For sure.
And she's doing fine, but you never know, right? I mean, you know, and it's really tough. If you look at my brother-in-law was 40 or 41 when, and, you know, for a parent to lose a kid is really tough. Or even my stepdaughter, Charlotte, who was an exceptional young lady,
Very, very hard.
very courageous.
Yes.
Our granddaughter, you know, to lose her at 40 or 41 was tough.
Yeah, I actually remember, I'm very close with my grandmother, my father's mother, and I remember when that happened, and my father passed of a heart attack, and I remember how tough that was, and it, yeah, losing a child, I think you can't imagine, and very, very.
Or a parent at a young age,
Right, yeah.
because you never get to enjoy them.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully I was older, but you know, it's never easy, right? For sure, absolutely not. So I just wondered like what it was, because heart disease. My grandfather died young, my father died young, and
Yeah, and that's why my son Joe, I mean, Hugo, we call it's interchangeable.
Sure.
Because my father's name was Hugo, and the Italian tradition is that your first son gets named after the grandfather or the father, right?
yeah, I actually know that.
So he,
So we go by, I still call him Hugo, and everybody else calls him Joe everywhere else, but he, sorry, lost it for a moment. Had it just go.
Everyone calls him Joe.
What was the story?
Yeah, well, it's okay. What were we talking about? We were going on.
Yeah, it happened to me last night too, but I can't remember.
Oh, yeah.
It'll come to me.
Okay, yeah, no worries. So, no, that's, family's, like I said, family's important, so, yeah, it definitely is, in regards, just, with some of this stuff, Joe, just, like I said, we've, I know it's been a tough road here the last few weeks. It definitely has been, you know, tough times for you and tough times for your family. I can't imagine what it is. We like you know, the team of investigators we have. You know, we are somewhat you know, understanding of this investigation. Obviously, we have a job to do, but we're understanding. And there's a lot of times that you know, we sit around what we call a bullpen, a bunch of guys, and you know, just we have some media attention, being police officers. We're held to a different standard, as you are as well. With that comes some media attention.
Yes.
Okay, so
We've always been professional. That's one thing about the force that I've grown to appreciate over the 18 years or whatever, that I, you know, you're very professional, and I respect the force and respect the process. So
Okay.
I understand that. But yes, it's been tough.
yeah, and I appreciate you say that, because you know, that does mean a lot coming from you as Mayor of London, and we do definitely try to do the best job we can, and just regards to the media and whatnot, and the attention, you know, and even today, like the media, like, you know, there was a, you know, we've
From what I understand, and I think Gord thanked you, and I did too, that was being very respectful and,
Yeah.
you know, to do it and handle it professionally as you have, I really appreciate it, because I think
yeah.
it's the family, right? At the end of the day, the media will do their stuff, they always do.
Yeah.
But I think you're absolutely right, so I'm very appreciative of the way it was handled.
And in no way am I trying to slam the media or anything like that. I mean, they have a job to do, and everyone has a job to do. But I just, well, you know, something came up. I'll throw it to you. Like, do you sometimes feel like the media is out to get you, or anything like that, or like?
I've been in politics for 30 years,
Sure.
right? And the media, as you said, has a job to do. I don't agree sometimes with what I see on the paper based on what I might have said or done in terms of political statements and so on and so forth. But, you know, I mean, the media has to do it. There's no doubt that I can say that sometimes it's troubling.
Yes.
And that's not about me, but any politician will tell you.
Sure.
Yeah, so, you know, but it's what it is. I can't change that.
Yeah. You know, it just seems like they're just in your face all the time, Joe.
I know. Oh, I know. It's been relentless for. In fact, I took a couple of days off last week.
Okay.
One was to go and visit my aunt because she's 91, and
Right.
I thought, and Vicky and I just wanted to
Yeah.
get away. Well, geez, the fact that I took off for a couple of days, it was as if, you know, the sky was falling. Where'd he go? What's he doing? All that sort of stuff. Come on, I mean, at the end of the day,
Right.
we all have jobs to do,
Yes.
and they do too. But I mean,
Yeah.
but it's been rough.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, obviously I have a job to do here, but I've been following some of the media attention, and yeah, just like I said, like the guy, you know, we talk about it, and I mean, like, you know, it's one thing to have, you know, I usually check my, I don't have a subscription to the London Free Press. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, yeah, me too. Well, I did a number of times.
Yeah. So now what I'll do is I'll just go online and, you know, have a little clip, but like, as far as the Joe Fontana investigation, I mean, there's not one article on there, Joe. There's, you know, it's just, you click down and it's duplicated, really, is what it is. It's just another picture of Joe, right? So.
Constant. I mean, and some of it has been more about not anything, but about whether or not I should step aside, or whether or not it's this, and whether or not it's that, whether or not it's this. I mean, it's you know. So let's face it, they've got a job to do, and they have to guess sell papers or do whatever. But
Yeah. No, just, yeah, stuff. So like I said, some of the stuff I've learned about you, and I know that you are a fighter. Absolutely. I think it goes without saying. There's not too many politicians that can walk out to the Rocky, and I saw the.
Oh, you saw the picture?
I saw it.
That was 1990.
Was that 1990?
When we were fighting
The
Viet Cuts.
Yes.
and everything else, and they wanted me to pose, you know, on the railroad tracks with the boxing gloves. It was my mother's favorite picture. I mean,
Okay.
and other stuff, but you know.
It's you know what? It's a great shot, right? There's not too many politicians.
That was 1990.
Yeah.
1990.
Yeah. Obviously, I wasn't around for that time or following, but obviously, I've just through this, I've learned some stuff. So I realize you still have your is that true? You have your gloves posted in your.
Well,
is
there's some.
yes or what?
But there's somewhere, but the other picture that's equally just as good that points to the artistic side of it.
Okay.
I wasn't a hockey player or a fighter, to tell you the truth.
Musician.
I never boxed, so I was a musician.
Right.
We had a band, and it was the way I was earning a living back when I first came to university in London. So we played in a great band, John Amato and the Clubmen. Johnny Stevens used to be the singer.
Okay.
And we played all over the place.
Wow.
In London and everything else. That's how we earned some money.
Right.
And when I got to Ottawa, because music has been my sort of first love, I started a band there,
Okay.
the True Grit Band.
The True Grit.
and it was made up of all of MPs,
Sure.
including John Critcher.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I
Okay.
said to the Prime Minister, I said, look at if Bill Clinton can do it, you can do it.
Right.
So, and he played French horn.
Okay.
I said, that's not going to do it. I said, we got to get you a trombone.
Throw them along a little bit.
More hip, for God's sake.
Yeah.
So I got him a trombone,
Okay.
and he played with us every once in a while.
Yeah.
I think his security detail used to tell me that he used to drive him crazy because he'd practice in the backseat of the car or with his mouthpiece or something like that, and he loved about 2 or 3 songs.
Yeah.
So anyways, we had an awful lot of fun. A lot of people play bridge, play hockey.
Sure.
We decided to get together and start this band, and we did an awful lot of charity functions and
Wow.
party functions. And after a while, though, everybody started complaining. Why? Because it became a job. I mean, we were here, there, and everywhere, and said, we got to spend some time with our family. But music's always been my sort of way to relax.
Yeah.
And I got the drum kit at home.
And it's drums that you play, or you play several, or just the...
No, I'm a drummer.
You're the drummer. Yeah, so do you still...
Can't sing. I'm the only Italian who can.
Yeah. Do you still, get together with some guys and play, or is that...
No.
Something
Well,
that you might
if
just-
I'm somewhere and there's a band and they recognize me and they want me to come up, I'll go and do it. So I love music.
You're all over the place, so I'm sure you get called up here and there for...
I teach I've taught my nephews, teaching my grandson how to play.
Wow.
He's 8 now,
Yeah.
and so but I don't do it anymore.
Right.
I'd like to, but I don't.
Yeah, for sure. Musician. I've tried to play. I've picked up the guitar. I actually have an acoustic BC Rich. It was my father's. Not that he played either, but he had this guitar. I think he had grandiose plans of playing one day. So when he passed his guitar, and I have taken a few lessons, and I do know a few chords. But
Okay.
Ron Boudria used to play in the True Grit band as our guitar player.
Okay.
And we had Tom Boudria, Stan Keys, Tony Valeri, Roger Galloway, Cadet Maltese. There was Ed Mifflin. We tried to make sure that we covered the whole of Canada, of course.
Exactly. Every
Even who was from Alberta? Julian Reed was also there, and Juno Award winner. I'm trying to remember from Alberta, piano player, keyboard player. So yeah, it was fun. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. So, obviously your political career and just through learning what I know about like the taxes. I mean, you haven't raised any taxes.
No, 2 years.
2 years. That's something to definitely be proud of.
Next month we start the 3rd budget.
Yeah.
And we've been able to do it really without cutting services, which is amazing.
It is amazing, actually.
It's just to try and say, look, you got to think about doing things differently. See if there's any ways of being able to save. And so far we've been able to do it without hurting, services for the people. And I think it can continue. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is that London has got a revenue problem. And that's because we're not growing as fast as we need to and should.
Right.
I mean, population is less than 1% a year. Revenue, tax base is about 1%. And so we've got, young people that are leaving.
Right.
And they will leave and they want to stay with their families, right? I want them too, but if you don't have a job and a career and opportunity for them, they're going to go. So how you get to a balance is that you got to grow your revenues, and you got to make sure that you're watching every dollar. And so
London's a little bit, like I said, I've been away for a bit. It's a little bit different of a place from when I came back. I mean, obviously I came back in definitely a bit of a recession, and I've had
2008 to now. We're getting there, but it's still a
struggle. Definitely, my family's been affected by people losing their job at Ford. And some relatives have lost their job at Caterpillar.
Me too, right? So family member,
absolutely. And Ford, at the end of the day, these big corporations will do whatever they have to, and you gotta compete like crazy. I mean, we didn't have to, in my opinion, lose electromotive. In my opinion, I think we could have, and I tried. But when you got a governor in the United States that's prepared to turn over millions and millions of dollars to a corporation, they're gonna bolt if it's in their best interest to do so. But, you know, and it's unfortunate because when you've been building some of the best product for 50 years, same like the best police cars ever, you know, from Ford. Yeah, I mean, you know, why couldn't that continue? I mean, so there's an awful lot of stuff that sometimes you gotta scratch your head and say, why?
Well, that's just it, right? So, definitely, the conversation came up at the dinner table and everybody appreciated you, when you said, Mr. Stephen Harper takes your ass down here. I mean, that's a bold statement, but you know what? That's, sometimes those things need to get said, right? It did get some attention.
And I saw it too.
Okay.
I was in Toronto for the 40th anniversary of the hockey, 1972 Canadian team beating Russia.
Yeah, right.
And he was at that event.
Okay.
And I went there. And so he and I had discussions.
I bet you did, yeah. Yeah.
He said, I heard you were wanted to reach me.
Yeah. So, no, and it still goes on. I mean, the Ford thing, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen there, but
But you got to look for opportunities. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, London, in fact, we were yesterday at City Hall, had a bunch of Japanese investors.
Okay.
That are looking, obviously, things have changed in Japan, especially since the tsunami.
Yeah.
Companies have to start looking at, because they've got less electricity or power now available to them than they had before. They're shutting down all their nuclear, which means that if you're going to have this production, and most of your business is in North America, then you want to locate something. So we obviously have been talking to them about locating parts plants, and we had one Sango that's being built now. Dr. Rutger, we're going to be the pizza capital of North America here.
Okay.
In the next little while, 5 million pizzas a year.
Okay.
We're going to do it. So you got to go out and find those opportunities.
Absolutely.
You know, that's part of what my main job is.
Exactly.
There's jobs, there's opportunities for young and for the people, unfortunately, that when they get displaced, right, and it's a tough age, at 50 or 55 and above, where you're not yet able to retire, you can't retire, you still got to work. It's tough between 55 and 65 for another employer, right?
Yeah.
And, because for the most part, you know, they've got other options, and that's a tough time if you're going to lose your job, is to try and get something else, right?
Yeah, you know, call it what it is, right? That people don't really want to hire the 55-year-old if they can hire the 25-year-old, right? So,
Except, I think the 55-year-old has a greater appreciation of work and ethic and so on and so forth, and, you know, the younger
I couldn't agree with you more.
people, I can tell you, including my kids,
Yeah.
I think we've spoiled them too much.
It's, you know, I'm obviously a younger man than yourself, but I mean, I work with people that are, it's a different generation coming in now.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, technology, it's what they have available.
Yeah.
You know, when I grew up, man, if my parents gave me 25 cents, it wasn't as if they paid me an allowance.
That's right.
Because I'm part of the family, it's expected that you go out and do whatever
That's
you
it,
do.
yeah.
So when I worked in summer jobs up in Timmins, in the mines and so on and so forth, it was to help the family, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't question it, you didn't say this is my money and that's your money. It was the family money, so Dad could build that garage or something like that. So
Right.
it was an entirely different sort of thing. Today, I mean, there's no doubt that there's great opportunities and so on, but, you know, kids are a little different.
Yeah, they are. No, I can appreciate that. I've supervised a few younger people that they walk in, and it's just a different mindset. It's a different generation. It's you know, somebody told me when I first started this job to go wash the car. I mean, I washed the car.
Exactly.
You know, and I didn't question about it. I mean, he's my sergeant, and that's what I did. Yeah. So, but now it's people look at you sideways, and you know. You know, we do what we, you know, sometimes you do what you gotta do to get the job done. They still do it, but it's just, you kind of get a bit of a look, or, you know, like, I mean, we work with good people here, but it's, yeah, it's different, different generation, different times, and, but we need those people. You know, when the young guy comes on in my crew, You know, he's right over to my computer. I mean, he can do more with his cell phone than I can do with any kind of technology I have all around me.
My 8-year-old grandson
Yeah,
is unbelievable.
yeah.
He knows how to use Google Earth. He can go to any place. He says one day, he says, no, we're going to Poland. Because he's my, and before you know it, he's typing in where his grandmother comes from, and before you know it, he's right there. And I said, how the heck did you do this? Because as long as my email works and my phone works,
Well, that's it.
these kids now,
Yeah,
man, they can just about do anything. And when I grew up, it was a slide rule.
that's right.
You know, right? You know, you weren't able to bring calculators, computers, anything into the classroom or into an exam. Today, you know, you got it all, right?
Yeah, there's, well, especially engineering, I can, like back in the day, everybody was cheat sheeting to get all these formulas and whatnot into engineering, and then finally they just said, listen, everybody's allowed one piece of paper, right? And it's, depends on the fonts and all the rest of it, right, yeah, so, but I mean, that's, that's the times of the day, and, so, following this, this media attention and whatnot and throughout all this, I can, you know, I've reviewed some of your comments and stuff that you've made along the way, and I can appreciate everything that you've said, and I think, in fairness, you've said all the right things. I mean, this has obviously been an ongoing investigation, like I said. It's been a very meticulous, methodical investigation. We haven't rushed anything. We've been very, very slow in our process. We have, through this process, we've collected all of the documents, Joe, all of the documents involved in this investigation, okay? All original documents in this investigation, and reviewing some of your comments, I can appreciate when this got thrown at you, I forget where you were at the time, somewhere, where were you when this got, you were
Health unit, I was just coming out of a meeting, yeah.
Okay, so the media, you know, they basically came right up and they wanted comments and all the rest of it, and in front of you just learned about this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, they, and the comments you made, and like I said, I can reflect that comment, you stated that you wanted to deal with the facts. You stated you wanted to deal with, you didn't want to deal with any innuendos, any kind of comments, any anonymous comments. You didn't want to deal with blurry figures that the London Free Press put out, that Chip Martin, the story he published. You didn't want to deal with any of that stuff, okay? So, the investigation is somewhat complete. I would say it's fairly complete. We're ready to move forward, obviously, with the charges and whatnot. Like I said, this investigation has executed several judicial authorizations. We've executed judicial authorizations at the Marconi Club. Okay, so we've received all those original documents. We have executed search warrants at the House of Commons. Okay, we've interviewed everybody involved in this investigation along the way. There hasn't been a rock unturned. This investigation is fairly tight, and again, I know that you wanted to deal with the facts. And in fairness to you, I'm going to walk you through the facts here, and we're going to go through some of these documents, and we're going to go through the facts. We're going to go through the documents, and I'm going to walk you through the documents, okay?
Is that, because I know that Constable
Palaniuk?
Yeah, Palaniuk, when he had said something to us in terms of legal advice and so on and so forth, is that, should my lawyer be here, or, I don't know, I mean, so.
No, lawyers aren't,
No, I know they can't be in here.
Sure. Sorry, I think I know where you're going with your question, and I'll just try to answer whatever I can best.
Oh, okay.
Basically, the collection of evidence is done. With regards to us going forward in this investigation, everything that we have will be provided to Mr. Cudmore. Okay? That's a full disclosure package. There's nothing that we don't do that's not provided to Mr. Cudmore. So,
been in this circumstance.
fair enough, absolutely. So, and any questions you have along the way, please ask them, and I'll answer them the best I can. Okay? Any kind of this process, if you're confused with it or anything like that, please, you want to ask the questions, and I'll walk you through it. I'll try to, because I do understand that this is obviously your first time being involved in this. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna deal with the facts now. We're gonna deal with the exhibits that have been seized to date, and I'm gonna walk you through them, and we're gonna go through this. Do you need water or anything like that, or
Oh, I wouldn't mind taking a health break though.
a health break?
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely.
Washroom if I could.
Then just step outside for a second, and somebody will
Okay.
maybe escort you in. Okay.
Hey Joe, I can see you the bathroom. Sean mentioned you want to
Yeah.
help break.
Well, give me coffee, then I gotta.
Oh, I know the feeling.
actually, I had to take a little washroom break myself.
Perhaps you don't do that.
Well, that's it, yeah. Ever since I broke the age of 30, whenever I have any kind of liquids or whatever, I'm a constant bottle.
Yeah, sometimes it'll do it.
So just getting back to that, like we said, just to get you back in that, what I said before I left. So we discussed the documents that we've done. These have all been seized through judicial authorizations. We went to a judge. We received judicial authorizations. We're dealing with all the original documents, all the fresh ink on all the documents. Everything is here. Okay? So we'll go through this process. Okay? So for the first document, Joe, what this is it's Marconi called the provisional contract. Okay? The agreement date here, focus on this. This was made on the 20th day of October, the 20th day of October 2004. Okay, this contract was made prior to Michael's wedding. Okay, it was made at the Marconi Club. It's in the name of Vicky and Joe Fontana. 87 Sir James Court. Okay, that's your address. Telephone number, and that's your fax.
Yes,
Okay,
office things.
office fax. Okay, perfect. A little bit different here. So the event date for the original wedding, June 25th, 2005. Was the original date for the wedding, and then it got changed to June 4th, 2005. Okay? I'm not sure why that happened, or maybe a minister wasn't available, or something to do with that, but it got changed. No recollection of that? No. Okay. We'll just bring you down to this part here. This stuff right here, Joe, this 0481, that's an internal part for the Marconi Club. This is just so they can keep track of their receipts, okay? And then, so that's the italics at the top. There was a date change, June 4th, 2005, okay? These markings were made by the Marconi Club manager at the time. So, the purpose, do you have your glasses? Yeah, please.
I don't.
Okay.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have any, yeah, okay, good. I need the specs now too, I'm getting older. So, I'll bring you down to here. So, this was to have and hold the demised premise during the 4th day of June, 2005, the hours of 4 p.m. and 1 a.m. for the purposes of a wedding. Okay? $1,700 deposit that was provided at the time of this contract agreement. Okay, Marconi Club manager here, and Vicky Fontana here. Okay, this is the first document. Okay, so Vicky signs it. Vicky's your wife, correct? Okay. The date change, you don't recall much of that. Do you recall the document at all, or none of it? Okay. Yeah. Was Michael married on June 4th? 2005?
I think so.
Okay. Believe so? Okay. And you agree that this is your correct information?
As far as the address, yeah.
Okay. So this document was seized through a search warrant on October 19th, 2012, this year from Marconi Club, okay? I may, actually, if you don't mind, I'll turn my phone off, and I'm hoping you can do the same. I realize that,
No, I'm just, because they never stop.
yeah, exactly. My phone never stops either.
Just talk business stuff right
No,
now.
I understand this. Yeah, okay. So, we will come back to this document, okay? So, what this document here is another seized document. This is the document that is very similar to this document, although this document is somewhat altered, okay? This document was actually submitted to the House of Commons for a receipt, okay? This is actually you can't see it on here, but it was faxed. It was faxed from your house. There's a fax number at the top of this, which we unfortunately might not be able to see, but there's a fax number at the top of this document. Yeah, actually, you can see it there. So that's a fax number. That comes back to a subscriber in Arville. Okay? You don't recognize that fax number at all?
That's my phone number.
Or sorry, your phone number, okay. So that comes back to your phone number in Arville. Okay? This document was faxed, I believe, from your residence. This was what was submitted to the House of Commons, okay? But the difference between this document, Joe, and this document, and I'm actually going to bring you back to one more thing. Again, this is the original document. This invoice number 2661, okay? There's only one copy of these, okay? We've interviewed the person that's responsible for these invoices. The person who was responsible for this invoice and creating this invoice for the Marconi Club, he still works for the Marconi Club, and there's only one 226 in existence. So that there's only one of these, okay? This again is 226, okay? This is the one that was faxed or provided to the House of Commons in a receipt. But the difference between this document and this document is it's altered, okay? We're just going to bring you to the top. So again, number 2661, that's the same. That's the same as this. This is the same as this. The event date's changed, okay? It's altered. February 25th, 2004, okay? So you can actually see that it's actually penned right over top of that, okay? Underneath it was altered, underneath the June is gone, and now it's February. Do you see that?
I see February 25th.
Okay, yeah, February 25th. But can you tell that that is actually written in pen as opposed to that's being photocopied? Can you see that that's fresh ink?
No, I can't say anything to that.
Okay, fair enough. There's an original on here, and through our interviews with the House of Commons, what this is because this was a fax copy and some of it was a fax copy, this was written original on there, which is common with House of Commons invoices, and the House of Commons, because it was quoted as original, it was to treat this document as an original, okay? The agreement date is the same here. The agreement date is October 20th, 2004, okay? The interesting part of this part, and just going back to the reason why it was altered, is the agreement date of October 20th, 2004. What that means is that's when this document was created. The agreement date is actually before or after the event date. So the agreement date of October 20th, the agreement date of when this contract was actually created between Vicky and Joe Fontana was actually long before the actual event date. Okay? So that's the problem. That's where this document was altered. Okay, this document doesn't make sense. Okay? This part is actually the same. Vicky and Joe Fontana, this is your address, which you already stated over here. That's the same. This part is added as well. It says MP, okay? Member of Parliament. Just for you to submit that document as a member of Parliament, okay? These numbers in the middle here, it's different. There's no numbers here, but there's numbers here. And what these numbers are is this is House of Commons numbers. This is for their internal stuff, okay? I'm going to bring it back down to here, okay? To have and hold the demise premise during the 25th day of February, okay? So February, meaning the event date, 2004, that's changed as well, okay? Because on this one, it's June 4th. That's the wedding. That's the date that you indicated was Michael's wedding, okay? But it's changed to February, which again doesn't coincide with this, because the actual, if this document was actually created on October 20th, 2004, the event date is again, we've gone over it, but it's months before the actual date the contract was created. Here as well, Joe, 4 p.m. and 1 a.m., that remains consistent. Reception, okay? This was for Michael's wedding, but it's changed here. Okay, it's changed here to reception. Okay, and you can see that's written in pen along with February and along with February up here and along with MP. That's where it's been altered. That's where it's been altered. February's been altered. Reception's been altered. Okay? Following me so far?
I'm following you.
Okay. There's another interesting part of this document, and that's the signature. Okay? This is Vicky Fontana's signature. This now says Joe Fontana. Okay? Underneath that, you can still see Vicky Fontana. You can see that this used to be here. Okay? It's now signed over top of that. Would you agree with that?
Well, I can't agree with it. I see what you're saying.
Okay. Does that signature look familiar?
Yep.
Yeah. Would you say that's your signature?
Well, I can't definitively. It looks like mine.
It looks like your signature?
Except the J doesn't look consistent with mine. But I can't say right now. Be emphatic about it.
Okay. Do you remember this document at all?
I can't say that I do.
You can't say that you do? Nothing to do with this document?
Can't say that I do.
Okay. I'm going to bring you back to this part here. This is a transmittal letter. Does this ring, does this show anything? Does this bring back any memories? This transmittal letter?
I mean, that's 7 years ago.
Sure.
7.5 years ago.
But did the actual overall document of the does this look familiar with your transmittal letters that you would submit for invoices to the House of Commons?
No.
It doesn't look familiar whatsoever? Okay. I'm going to walk you through this as well. So this says your name up here. Okay. Obviously that's your constituency.
Yep.
Okay. Just different offices here.
Yep.
March 24th, 2005. Okay. Just bring it back to here. October 20th, 2004. That's when you're indicating that this document was created along with this document. October 20th, 2004. This invoice was submitted on March 24th, 2005. So months later, this invoice was submitted to the House of Commons, okay? And this is the document. It's called a transmittal letter. And this is the document that was submitted with this letter, okay? With this invoice, sorry. Okay, you following me? So, what Christy Pearson, is Christy Pearson, was she your special assistant? Okay, was she your assistant at the time, would you say? March 24th, 2005?
Yes.
She was your assistant? Yeah. Where did Christy work?
I think it was at my Ottawa office.
Your Ottawa office? Okay.
MP's office.
Sure. This document, this was submitted in Ottawa, okay? And Christy submitted this document what the House of Commons refers to as a transmittal letter, but it's really essentially a covering letter. It's a covering letter to support this invoice, okay? All right? And then there's a sticky on here. Do you recognize the writing from that sticky?
I use stickies a lot.
Okay.
I think.
Does that look like your handwriting?
Might be. I can't say.
Yeah, no, I understand, but it was a long time ago. But does that look like your handwriting?
I think so.
You think so? But
I'm not positive.
okay. So there's a sticky note here. It says, please submit the miscellaneous, what does that word say?
I think it says constituent.
Constituent? And what's this say down here?
I don't know. I said, I think made.
Make?
Made or make?
Are they payable?
a little shiny. I think I can't be sure.
If you took a guess, what would you think that's?
Well, I think it says made,
Made?
I think.
Okay.
I've got bad handwriting, I know, but I can't tell whether
Okay.
it's.
Well, it's not my handwriting.
No, yeah.
So, yeah, I believe it says it's either made or made. In that word right there,
I think it's payable,
payable.
I think. But that's last.
Take your time. And this, yeah, this word here,
Reception, I think it's reception.
reception.
I think it looks like reception.
Yeah, agreed. Okay. Yeah, so reception. So please submit miscellaneous constituent reception, make payable, or made or make payable. Okay? So this document was submitted by Christy Pearson on March 24th, 2005. Okay? It was submitted to Michael the sticky covers it, Michael Champagne. Do you recognize that name at all?
Vaguely, I mean.
Vaguely?
Yeah, I hardly dealt with these things,
Sure.
you know.
That's why you have assistants.
Yeah, so I
For sure.
think, but I can't say.
Would you say this would be consistent with the process for submitting invoices?
You know, I can't say.
Okay.
I can't say really. I don't know because usually the assistants handled most of
So
it.
they would know who these invoices go to.
And how and so on and so forth, I think,
Yeah.
you know.
But you would agree this looks like your handwriting?
Well, I can't be certain.
Sure. Yeah. Just to review a couple other things, this signature as well.
But that J doesn't look right.
The J doesn't look right?
Doesn't look right.
Okay.
I can't say anything more than that.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna move forward. Okay. Through the House of Commons, we have done some signature analysis. Okay. The Board of Internal Economy, they through this process, and maybe you can walk me through this, but as an MP, they have you sign some signature specimen cards, and they would review those signature specimen cards and compare them with signatures when you submit invoices. Anything you recall any of that in any of your NP training over the years?
That must have been a long time ago.
A long time ago?
I can't remember if maybe during the orientation.
Okay.
Way back in 1988, I think, or
Sure.
1990, or whether or not you do it each and every time you're elected. Boy, that's a tough one. No recollection whatsoever.
No recollection? Fair enough.
It's done every time you get elected or re-elected, but I must admit, I don't know.
Okay. This is what they provided to us through judicial authorization again. This is a signature of you, Joe Fontana.
Right.
And again, would you say that this signature and this signature is similar?
Well, not similar.
Is this your signature?
That looks more consistent with the way I make my J and my F.
Okay. So are you saying that this J and this J is different?
I'd like to think so. But I must admit, when I sign, it changes, I don't know about you, but when I'm signing,
Sure.
it may be different each and every time. I haven't got the faintest idea, it depends on the pen and all that sort of stuff. But
Sure.
I think that looks closer to my signature.
Okay. So are you saying that this signature doesn't look like your?
Well, I'm telling you that
Yeah.
J looks off.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Okay. And here's another signature block that we got from the House of Commons through judicial authorization. So this signature here. Okay.
Yep.
Would you say that is similar to this? Because
No, but I'm just saying that looks closer to how I always sign than that one.
okay. Because this one to me. Let's just put them all together.
Sure.
Let's just have a look here. So there's this signature seized through judicial authorization through the House of Commons. There's this signature that was seized through judicial authorization through the House of Commons. And then there's this document that's an original invoice that you submitted to the House of Commons. Would you say these signatures are similar?
No. In fact, to tell you the truth, this looks more like the way I would usually sign.
Okay.
And that one?
Yeah.
That one looks different to me.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
What are you saying?
No, that's fine. I just go over that forward. So through this invoice that was submitted, this invoice right here, the Marconi Club invoice, this was submitted by you through the House of Commons. After this document was submitted to the House of Commons, what happens next is the House of Commons, because this document was due to a reception, which was part of your parliamentary duties, okay? What they did was they issued a check, okay? They issued a check directly to the Marconi Club for the $1,700, okay? So that's what happened there. So once you submitted this document in relation to the $1,700, the House of Commons then gets this document, and they got this document again, just to refresh your memory, they got this document on March 24th, 2005, okay? So then the House of Commons, what they do is, I think the money goes over to Public Works, and then they cut a check direct to the Marconi Club. Would that be consistent with?
I think that's the system. I must admit, though, never really got involved in that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But yeah.
So you have a budget as a member of Parliament. You have a budget, correct? Maybe you can speak to a little bit about that. Just walk me through that, right? You have a budget as a member of Parliament. Is that fair to say?
We're all given budgets.
Okay.
And the budget includes salaries.
Sure.
Both in Ottawa, in the constituency office, would include rent or lease at the constituency office, would include telephone, would include this, that, and everything else, expenses, this, that, and everything else, including, if I'm not mistaken, the budget included flights, you know, how many times you could fly back and forth and so on. So it was fairly complicated, but yes, we had a budget, an annual budget that we had to stick to and for, and various categories where you could spend your money.
Okay. So if you were to have a reception, let's say you were to have a reception as part of your parliamentary duties at the Marconi Club, would that be something that you would be allowed to submit as an invoice, as an expense?
I believe so.
You believe so?
I believe so.
Have you ever done that?
Have I ever submitted?
So let's just say, like, okay, so have you ever had a reception at the Marconi Club?
Well, I can tell you, I've had many receptions at the Marconi Club. You know, they've been personal, they've been writing or
Sure.
Political party functions.
Okay.
And MPs functions, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So in my 20 or 30 years, yes, I've gone to the Marconi Club an awful lot.
I bet, yeah.
And so, but if the question was, do we have a budget to host receptions for our constituents as members of Parliament? Yes, but yes.
Yeah. So just back to my question. So if you were to have a reception that was part of your parliamentary duties for a riding or whatever, like you would have it, and you had that at the Marconi Club, would that be something you would be within the rules and regulations of a member of Parliament? Would you be allowed to submit as an invoice?
I believe so.
You believe so? Okay. All right.
I can't recollect the
And that's fine.
rules,
Sure.
engagement, or whatever you call them, but
Fair enough, yeah. And again, just getting back to what I said, so with this $1,700, the House of Commons then, they cut a check. They cut a check directly to the Marconi Club. Is that something that you believe would be the practice? So if you've paid for this out of pocket, or not out of pocket, but through your budget.
yeah, a lot of checks, whether or not we were sponsoring or putting advertising in church bulletins or books, or, you know, because we used to get a lot of requests as MPs to support various organizations, and if they were certain and they fell within the categories, we'd submit them all the times, and the checks, as I understand them, would be paid directly from the House of Commons to whomever. Could be even you were buying some space in the newspaper or something, anything that had to do with your job as an MP.
Okay. So what this was, is this is also seized through judicial authorization at the House of Commons. This is a photocopy of the actual original, but what this is through their records through the House of Commons. This is their computer screen, basically an invoice as to them, how they cut the check, okay? I'm just going to walk you through this a little bit. Right here it says Marconi Club of London, 120 Clark Road, London, Ontario, $1,700, okay? And bring you back to this part here. Invoice number 2661, okay? So the House of Commons cut a check to the Marconi Club for $1,700. The invoice date is February 25th. 2661, $1,700, and that's what, and then this basically is the same thing. $1,700 to the Marconi Club of London, okay? So this basically, what this shows is that money was dispersed to the Marconi Club, okay? And we've conducted interviews to the Marconi Club, we've conducted interviews, we have conducted interviews at the Marconi Club, but we also conducted interviews at the House of Commons. And what the House of Commons told us was this money, this $1,700, it was dispersed. Proof of that is through this documentation. That $1,700 was a check was cut to the House of Commons for $1,700 in relation to this invoice number 2661. Which is the same invoice number as 2661. Obviously, this document's altered. This was the original, and $1,700 was dispersed, and it was never paid back. It was never shown to be a mistake. That money went to the Marconi Club, and it was expended to the Marconi Club. Okay. What this is here, Joe, is this is the stub, okay? This is the stub the Marconi Club received in relation to the check that they received, okay? Does this look like a House of Commons check stub to you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I've seen some of those. I think that's how we're. Yeah.
Okay. And that number, that name there is obviously you. The invoice number, what does that read?
The invoice number?
Yeah.
2661.
Okay. So $1,700 in the name of Joe Fontana, MP, which actually is the same as this right here. This MP, Joe Fontana, MP. 2661, which is the same as 2661. Okay? And 2661. Okay? Does that look like an original? It's not a photocopy. Does that look original?
I can't tell.
Yeah, you can't tell?
I think that they were colored
Oh, okay. Yeah.
myself, but I can't tell.
Yeah. This was, this, and then there's, I don't know if that means anything to you. Do you know that name?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No. And I don't.
Yeah, anyways.
I don't know.
So we seized this from the Marconi Club. Okay, they had kept these documents through their records. We seized this document, this original invoice number, this original House of Commons check stub 2661. We seized this on November 1st, 2012 through a judicial authorization again, which shows again that the payment was made to the Marconi Club in relation to this receipt that was submitted to the House of Commons. So you submitted this receipt, $1,700. This is where the money was dispersed. It was never returned. This is the check stub that went to the Marconi Club. Okay? We've went over this as well, the signatures. Okay? I'm going to back this up a little bit too here. just back to this first document, okay? What this is a copy of a bank deposit slip that was seized from the Marconi Club, okay? Bank of Montreal is who the Marconi Club deals with, okay? That's their bank. So when they receive funds for any kind of function or anything like that, they take their checks or any kind of cash or whatever, and then they do like a business transaction at the end of the day or the end of the week, and they deposit their funds to the Bank of Montreal. That's their bank. This is their account number. The date on this is October 25th, 2004, okay? So bring it back to this one, okay? October 20th, 2004, that's when this contract was created. This was in relation to Michael's wedding, okay? The wedding, okay? October 20th, 2004, $1,700 was provided to them on this date, and it's in the name of Vicky and Joe Fontana, and this is Vicky's signature, okay? Would you agree that's Vicky's signature?
It looks like hers.
It looks like hers?
It's certain, but it looks like hers.
Okay. So what happened shortly after the $1,700 was provided to the Marconi Club? The Marconi Club then takes that check, $1,700, okay, and then they deposit it into their bank. This is their account number 1025-63, okay? In their internal records is, this becomes somewhat important, is 0481, okay? And on this document, you'll see that it's 0481. This payment is in relation to this. So what this is like a deposit number for the Marconi Club. It's just their internal number. They know that that 0481 is in direct relation to this, okay? And follow me here. It says Fontana, $1,700, okay? So just walking you through that. So this $1,700 that was paid then went in the form of a check. So it was a personal payment. Check, Fontana, $1,700.
But that's the date of the deposit?
That's the date of the deposit.
It was October 25th.
Yeah, it was 5 days after this. Okay? Does that make sense to you? Do you have any questions? So what happened here, Joe, is on October 20th, 2004, this contract was drawn up and $1,700 was provided for a deposit for Michael's wedding, okay? If you have any questions along the way, please ask, okay? Because we're just trying to walk through the process here.
But the dates, I'm just trying to think, the dates just don't add up.
Well, if I can just walk you through that a little bit. So this is when this was created, okay, on October 20th, 2004. $1,700 deposit, a check, was provided as a deposit for Michael's wedding that happened months later, June 4th, 2005. 5 days after that, October 25th, 2004, then that's when they took your check, Joe. They took your check and that's when they deposited. They didn't do it the same day. You follow me? Because they don't do it like if you put a check in that same day, they don't run.
I don't want to be argumentative.
No, absolutely not. If you have any questions,
I'm just trying to understand the facts. First of all,
yeah.
I never submitted, you said, I submitted this thing in March of '05.
This is separate from this, Joe, because this is what you submitted to the House of Commons.
Okay, but when was that check cut?
This check was cut on April 6th, 2005.
This one is 2004.
Exactly.
The other thing, can I just ask you?
Yeah, Joe, go ahead.
They got Fontana there.
Sure.
Was that my check? Or was that Public Works check? I don't know whether or not they was free, so I'm just asking a question.
I believe this was a personal check. This was a personal check by either yourself or Vicky Fontana for $1,700. Okay?
No.
Right, and then what happens?
I'm just trying to
Yeah.
piece the dates together.
Absolutely.
Oh,
It gets, you know what, it gets confusing, but, what happens is I'll just walk you through this again. So on October 20th, 2004, this contract is drawn up, okay? So you sit down, yourself or Vicky sit down with the Marconi Club, and you disperse what I believe to be a personal check of $1,700, okay? You provide them with a $1,700 deposit for the wedding, okay? This is out of your pocket, not the House of Commons, not anything like that. This is a personal check, okay? And then what happens from there, Joe, is 5 days later, they deposit your check for $1,700, okay? 5 days later, October 25th, 2004, they go to the bank, that check that you provided to them on this date, October 20th, 2004, they now have your check. 5 days later, they put your check in with a bunch of other checks, okay, and they deposit it. They deposit it with this same number, 04810481. It's 5 days later, so I can see how you can kind of be confused because they don't, every day the Marconi Club gets a check, they don't run to the bank that same day. They do them 5 days later, or they do them 2 days later, or if you happen to come in on the day they're depositing, they probably take your check. But would you agree that says Fontana? And mind you, this is a copy, but we do have the original. Fontana, $1,700, October 25th, 2004. So it was only 5 days after this, the $1,700 check.
What it tells me though is that I paid for that.
Exactly.
1,800.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying too, okay? That's what I'm saying as well. I'm saying the same thing. I believe that you provided.
And I don't know if it was, to tell you the truth, I don't know if it was me or whether or not it was Vicky.
Exactly. And you know what? I can't know.
It's just that the dates just, yeah, okay.
But would you agree? That's an important point, Joe. Would you agree that's what that looks like? Is you paid that?
Based on what it says Fontana 1,700 and it's October 25th of 4.
Do you remember providing any kind of deposit for Michael's wedding?
If it would, wives take over.
Sure, absolutely.
Wives take over the
Mother-in-laws take over.
Believe me, I'm
Yeah.
trying to think. October, probably, I don't know what day that was. Probably would have been, but Vicky would have been, it's her son. She was looking after things. So I can't recollect.
Okay.
I can't really recollect whether or not that would have been Vicky's check or my check.
Sure. Would you say that this process would be consistent with the way that the Marconi Club would do business? I mean, you earlier said that you have done a lot of receptions there. Would it be consistent with the way they would do business? Does that?
Well, the only thing I can tell you is that, because I've been there many times, yes,
Sure.
and we've rented the hall many times. I'm not talking about me or, because the party had functions. I may have had functions and you got personals sort of thing.
Sure.
And there's a various number of things that happen over the course of
Sure.
20 years over there. So yeah, a deposit for the rental of the hall, which their usual practice.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So just so we're clear, because this was created on October 20th, 2004. That look, you agree that it
Looks
looks
like cookies, yeah.
this is what happened. So they in the name of Fontana, they deposited a $1,700 check 5 days after on October 25th, 2004, consistent with this. So this goes with this, okay? All right. Now I know that you were getting kind of confused about this document, so I'm just going to go back to it. So this document is the document that was altered. This document was the one that was submitted to the House of Commons for an invoice. It was altered. It was altered in several ways, and we've already went over them. So you've already dispersed the money for the $1,700. Okay, this is what I believe to be a personal check, $1,700. This was done on October 20th, 2004. But now, Joe Fontana wants his money back, okay? Because Joe submitted this already. You've submitted this out of your own, Joe or Vicky or somebody cut a check, and now we're submitting this document is now altered, and you're trying to get paid, okay? It's your signature, it's 1,700, and we went over the alterations, okay? It's altered here with February, it's altered with MP. You've made it not a wedding anymore. You've penciled that out and you've made it a reception. You've made it to show like it was a parliamentary function, okay? You following me?
I might follow you, but I don't agree with you.
Okay.
Respectfully, I mean, because, you know, there are a number of things, dates, changes that I'm not agreeing to because
Yeah.
I said this is the first time I've seen this thing.
Yeah. Well, there's only, you know, like I said, there's only 1226. There's only 1226 here. You can see that this is altered with fresh ink, although, you know, there's just, you know, maybe we can't agree on that, but this has been changed, okay? This has been altered and this has been changed.
Well, I'm not agreeing that I made those changes or anything like that. You brought this to my
Fair
attention.
enough.
I'm looking at it for the first time. You've asked me a number of questions.
Sure. Fair enough, yeah. No, and I appreciate that. This is a check that was submitted to the Marconi. This is the check stub that was submitted to the Marconi Club. Okay, April 6th. April 6th, 2005. Shortly thereafter, you submitted this invoice, March 24th, 2005. Okay? So, shortly after March 24th, 2005, you submitted this transmittal letter, this covering letter, in regards to this receipt, that's now altered, that's been altered. It's signed over Vicky. It's now Joe Fontana. Okay? And then they submit this check for $1,700, okay? So you paid it here, you paid it out of pocket here, with this one. You then alter this document and you submit this payment, and this check gets cut directly to the Marconi Club. Okay? And where I'm gonna go with that is there's another one here. Okay? Follow me here. So Michael's wedding was on what date? Do you remember?
Beginning of June, I think, right?
The beginning of June?
June 4th.
June 4th, 2005. So Michael gets married. Who does he marry, Joe?
Christina.
Christina, last name before Fontana?
Nosco.
Nosco? Okay. So, Christina Nosco, Michael and Christina are married on June 4th, 2005. Okay. A wedding takes place at the Marconi Club. Agreed?
Yep.
Okay. So this is the final invoice, okay? This is also something that was seized through original. This is an original copy. It was seized through judicial authorization. This is what I would refer to as a final invoice for the wedding. Okay, there's a bunch of different stuff on here. That's your name. That's your address. It's now there's no Vicky, but it just says Joe Fontana here. Okay, this invoice number is different than that invoice number, but that's because the documents actually changed. This is a provisional functional contract. This is something that's made before the events take place. This one's actually a final invoice. Okay, a final invoice, the total of everything that takes place. Do you recognize this bill at all? Not at all?
No, I can't say that I do.
Okay.
Can't say that I do.
Just going to bring you up here. The invoice date is June 4th, 2005, which is the same date. Would you agree, Michael?
Yep.
The total for the bill was $18,900. Okay. It also states on here less down payment $1,700. Okay. They've indicated that you've already paid a deposit of $1,700. Okay. That was paid here. That's $1,700. Okay. All right. So after this takes place, what the Marconi Club does, and this is also a copy, but we do have the original seized again through judicial authorization from the Marconi Club. This is a copy of a bank deposit slip for what I would refer to as most of your final payments for the the checks that went into this, okay? This 18-9, okay? The date on this, so what they did was July 18th, 2005. So it's sometime after June 4th, 2005. It's now July 18th, 2005, which is very common. After the wedding, the families come forward and they submit all the checks. All the checks go into family members and help out with the final payment of the wedding. Can you comment on how the wedding was paid for? Like, do you remember any recollection of that?
There was a pot.
Okay, a pot. Sure. Okay, you all contributed. So you contributed. Do you remember how much you contributed?
I can't be certain.
Okay.
No, but because there was an agreement by the family before, right? Most weddings, as you know, everybody sort of splits it off, and it was either the kids, us, and them.
And who's them?
The in-laws.
Okay, but and their names are
Roscoe.
Roscoe.
So that's how we divvied up the sort of expenses. Everybody paid their share.
Sure.
And I can't remember what that agreement was, because it's, what, 7.5 years ago.
Right. Yeah. Fair enough. So I'm just going to walk you to this, okay? Joe Fontana, $5,000. Okay?
Right.
So you contributed $5,000 to that one. Does that figure sound accurate, right, or?
I don't know.
You don't know.
That's what it says.
Okay.
I can't confirm or.
Pearl Fontana, can you?
That's my mother.
That's your mother?
Yeah.
Do you recall your mother contributing any checks?
Well, she was sick. She
Okay.
died a month after.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it was a tough time. But I know that she wanted to help her, help me and her, and so that's what it is. I must admit, can't remember.
Do you remember her making contribution to the, so you do remember her making the,
Italian mother wants to.
Okay.
I mean, but I can't remember how much. I must admit, I don't know. My son got married on June 5th. I was in Timmins by the end of June.
Right.
And my mom died on July 10th.
Okay, well, I'm sorry to say that, that's all I know, but.
No, so so if that's what that is.
Yeah, so, $3,570, Pearl Fontana, and you've indicated that's your mother. Nosco, $6,400.
Okay. Can't remember.
Contributed, and another Nosco member, looks like $2,230. Okay, so,
It's part of the family
yeah,
contributions.
does this look consistent with what occurred as far as the contributions to Michael's wedding?
Pretty well.
From your memory?
Yeah, from my memory.
Okay. I'm gonna bring you to another part here. It says Canada government, $1,700. Okay?
Okay.
All right?
Right.
Okay?
That's what it says.
Yeah. Well, that's what it says.
Right.
Yeah.
But could it be from something else? It says Government of Canada. This is a Marconi sort of deposit book, so I know the numbers look familiar, and as I said, there's a whole bunch of dates, this and everything else, and so, yeah, you point that out, but I can't comment on it.
Yeah. Would this Government of Canada check $1,700? This deposit slip that was made shortly after the wedding, it's a collection of checks, okay? Would you agree to say that? Would you agree to say that some of this is a collection of checks in regards to this final bill? Is that, I'm just asking you, and if it's not, then tell me, because
Yeah.
does it seem consistent?
Yes. I don't know
Okay.
whether or not it all adds up. I mean, you pointed it out here at 7, so.
Yeah. What happened here, is this check was sent to the Marconi Club on April 6, 2005, in direct relation to this altered receipt that you sent
Well, I never said that I did that.
No, I'm aware of that. This altered receipt that was sent, I'm gonna say you did alter this receipt, and you submitted this to the House of Commons. You paid for it here, when you first sat down with him on October 20th, 2004. You altered it. That's what happened, Joe. Okay, you altered it, okay?
Sure.
I'm gonna,
No, well, I'm not saying sure because
yeah,
I can't admit to something that I'm unsure of
yeah.
because of what I see and signatures that might not be right. But can I just ask you a question?
Sure.
That was cut on April.
April 2005.
When was it deposited?
It was deposited. Yeah, because what typically happens with the Marconi Club is that they don't put a final, they don't put their final deposit into the bank until they have all the checks. Because it would make sense, right? Like, so let's say they get one check at one
How
time.
about their system now?
Well, we've interviewed them, and I'm just letting you know through this
I
interview.
would say if you got a check, why would you hold on to it for 3 months?
Well, because they've waited for a collection of checks through their bookkeeping, right?
Okay, no, so I don't know if that's what you say, because just that's their system,
The reason we know that is because this is your final invoice,
right?
and this is their internal number here, 05-54.
What does that relate to?
That relates to this deposit.
Oh, okay,
Okay, 05-54.
sure.
Okay, so I'm also going to say there is some other things on here because again, the Marconi Club does different businesses at different
I
times.
recognize certain names, they obviously.
But these figures add up to 18,900. So
Yep,
the investigators on the team, they've done a solid job and they've added everything up.
okay,
They've added up Nostro, they've added up Pebble, they've added up Joe. They've also added up this figure right here, this Canadian government check of $1,700. That's also added up. Okay, so that's part of it. Okay, so that's what's happened here, Joe. This is what occurred on the date. So just gonna walk you through it. So again, October 20th, 2004. You made the contract, you put out $1,700. Somebody put out $1,700, whether it was you or Vicky. Vicky signs it, okay? Yeah. Okay. So that's what happens. Then this document gets altered, okay?
just give the truckers.
That's fine. This document gets altered, and this document gets submitted to the House of Commons. Signed by Joe Fontana over Vicky Fontana. It gets altered, it gets changed. It's no longer a wedding. Because we can't submit this to the House of Commons as a wedding, because you're not going to get paid as a wedding. You're going to get paid through a reception. Okay? Although the dates don't add up, and obviously maybe there wasn't a whole lot of thought there, but you've added MP here, because there's no MP here. This is the only document ever in existence, remember that, right? Number 2661, there's only one. We have statements from the person that creates these documents, there's only one. There's not another copy, there's not another thing. It's February 25th, 2005. It's not June, you took it out. You've submitted it as an original. And there's only one, at the end of all of this, Joe, all these documents, because we've had, you wanted to deal with the facts, okay? These are the facts. There's only one person that benefited from that $1,700, Joe. There's only one person. Okay? And that was Joe Fontana, okay? It was through this wedding. There's only one person that benefited from this, okay? So there's nobody else.
Well,
It was expended to the Marconi Club. This document was altered. This is the original. It was altered. It was submitted. The check was covered. The front end is covered, Joe, and the back end is covered. We've investigated it. We didn't leave a rock unturned on this. That's what happened here, okay? That's your signature. That's Vicky's
I
signature.
disagree. Well,
Okay.
I hope I can say that that's the first time I've seen
Yeah.
that. And so, and you asked me right away, is that my signature? I can't say that it is. It looks different.
Sure.
It does to me. And I think this is my wife's signature. And I think you've done a good job of, but there are dates and so on that are.
Is there any questions? Is there anything kind of fuzzy with any of this? Like, 'cause we can go over it again. Are you clear on this? Does it make sense?
It doesn't make sense
Okay,
to me, in
Right.
terms of the dates, in terms of some of the documents.
Sure.
I can say, yeah. And I say that respectfully,
Yeah.
because I think you've done a good job of laying it out for me, but
yeah,
things don't add up. Signatures don't add up,
Sure.
dates don't add up, that doesn't add up.
Well,
You know,
I'm gonna stop you there, because this is what happened, and this is what happened, okay? You altered this document, and you received the benefit of that, nobody else did. And that's what, these documents, we can change a lot of things about this investigation, but these documents, they're gonna speak volumes. These documents are all gonna be submitted in court, and we're all gonna go through them, we're all gonna dissect them. But at the end of the day, these documents are not gonna lie. They're gonna tell the same story. They're gonna tell all the same story, no matter how we twist them and we turn them and we show them. And I hope I've walked you through it. And again, if you have any questions, we'll go over them again respectfully.
well, I'm sure my legal counsel.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, but
Yeah.
like I said, no.
I'm gonna get into a little bit of the story. And I don't know if you're familiar with this individual or you know this individual, Sven Robinson.
I remember Sven.
You know Sven?
In fact, I think we served. He may have been in Parliament in 1988. He may have.
Yeah, I think Sven was a long-serving MP, many years. Maybe even like you're a long-serving member of Parliament. He may have been a little bit more than you. In April 2004, what Sven Robinson did was Sven Robinson stole a ring. Does that ring a bell at all to you?
Vaguely, there might have
Vaguely?
been. Yeah, somebody, whether or not it was even somebody else. Eye stuff. I don't know. You mean? Yeah. So I think.
Yeah.
Vaguely.
I'll walk you through it. So what happened in April 2004, Sven Robinson, he's a member of Parliament for Burnaby back in the time. Sven Robinson, very well respected in the community, just exactly such as yourself. He was voted in, long-serving member, an honorary member of the community, very well respected, very beloved. Sven Robinson went to a public auction, and what Sven Robinson did is he stole a ring. He stole a ring that was very valuable. This ring was worth about $50,000, okay? He stole it from the public auction. They knew who he was at the time when he went in there. He actually identified himself when he went into this public auction, and he stole the ring. This ring was stolen under electronic surveillance, okay? Cameras everywhere. There was cameras everywhere, and they saw Sven steal this ring, okay? What happened after that is obviously the people at the public auction, they noticed this $50,000 ring. They're not going to see that go missing. This $50,000 ring gets missing. They review the tapes. They see clearly it was Sven Robinson, and Sven Robinson stole this ring. Okay, again, a very well respected member of Parliament. The RCMP visits Sven Robinson. They investigate Sven Robinson. This story back in 2004, very similar time when you were serving with
The details.
yeah, so I don't want to walk you through the details. So this story, Joe, this story created national attention. Okay, national attention. This thing was coast to coast. Sven Robinson stole the ring. Sven Robinson was under a lot of pressure. Sven Robinson was absolutely under the gun, so to say. He felt the pressure. The interesting part of that story, Joe, is shortly thereafter, after the investigation broke, the national attention broke. You know what Sven Robinson did? Is Sven Robinson walked directly into the RCMP building, and an RCMP detachment in Burnaby, and Sven Robinson told his story. Okay, he told his story to the RCMP. Okay, he told them exactly what they wanted to hear. He completely provided an admissible statement explaining exactly what he did, and he admitted he made a bad decision. Okay, he made a very bad decision, and he took that on the chin, and he went full bore and took, basically just He owned up to his mistake and his bad decision at the time. From there, he went public. He had a national press conference. It was a very emotional press conference. It was.
I remember, but I think so.
It was in the media. He was in tears, and basically he told the story to everybody, Joe, about what he did. He came clean with his story. And again, this was national news. And you know what happened after that? After that story? Directly after that story? It went away, Joe. The story fizzled out. Nobody cares anymore, right? Nobody cares about this. Nobody cares anymore, okay? Nobody cares about the pressure. Nobody cares about the media attention, and it all goes away, okay? It all goes away. And you know why it went away, Joe? Because he told the truth, okay? He told the truth, and he gave it up, because that's what the public wants, okay, Joe? That's what the public wants. The public respected the fact that Sven was human, okay? Because people make mistakes. We all make mistakes. I've made lots of mistakes, Joe. But people make mistakes. Oops. Everybody's human and we make mistakes.
Of course.
And being a public person of the public eye, an honorary member, mayor, we make mistakes. And the story went away, Joe, because they told the truth and they told the story, okay? And in any part of this investigation, we never set out to arrest Joe Fontana, convict Joe Fontana. When this investigation was brought to our attention, we sought out this investigation to tell the truth, okay? We do that with every investigation. We don't have anybody we review the facts. It's an evidence-led case. We review the facts.
No, and I respect what you
do. No, absolutely. But getting back to Sven, this story that disappeared and it never fizzled again. He came forward, he came clean, and it went away. A year later, Sven was right back into politics. He withdrew from the federal election right before April 2004. He withdrew himself, but then he went right back into politics. Sven Robinson today continues to be a beloved member of the community.
He always was. He was a good MP.
Yeah. So, I guess the story with Sven Robinson is I can see some similarities in regards to this investigation and Sven Robinson's investigation. Sven told the truth, and he told his story, okay? Because all along throughout this investigation, you have said, once I review the facts, I'll tell my side of the story. I feel we've done that today. Would you agree?
I think you've done a very good job, respectfully, of showing me a lot of documents, a lot of things, a lot of dates.
Sure.
And I must admit, don't come together for me.
Okay.
I only say that, I can't answer anymore, but, you know, you've done a good job of laying it out for me, but I can't admit to anything because I'm still trying to digest everything in my head.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. And I understand that, you know, it's been a long time ago, but you altered this document, Joe. That's what happened here. You altered this one and you submitted it. Okay, this document right here. They had it on record at the House of Commons. There's nobody else that did this. Okay? There's nobody else that could have done this. It's not a strong forgery here, Joe. Okay? It's not a strong forgery in any way, right? This is reception now. That one was wedding. There's a lot of answers. This story needs some answers. Okay?
Well, like I said, this is the first time I've seen that
Sure.
document. Long time since I've.
Take a look. Like, if you need more time, have a look at it.
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, I think you've given it, I just can't, you know, the dates don't
Sure.
figure, the signature doesn't figure to me, and like I said, compared to this one, I can't even remember seeing this one,
Sure.
right, so.
So, but there's only one person that benefited from this, and that was Joe Fontana, okay? This couldn't have been done by anybody else. Do you think it could have been done by anybody else?
I don't know. Like I said, you showed me this document for the first time.
That signature?
I'm sorry, I can't say that that's mine.
Okay,
It doesn't look like mine.
okay.
That J especially.
Yeah. What I can say about that signature is the Board of Internal Economy, they've reviewed this and they've provided an opinion that that is your signature. Okay, that's their opinion.
Yeah, we've reviewed 3 signatures.
Sure.
That-
Yeah, but there's,
But you just asked me for the first time, is that yours? Is this your document? Did you change? I can't say that I've done that.
yeah,
Because I must admit this is the first time I've seen it, the dates don't
Sure.
make sense. So I'm sorry, I can't say anything more.
yeah. Are you suggesting that it's possible somebody else could have submitted this?
I can't say.
You can't say?
I can't say.
Okay. All right. I think what happened here is you know and I know that you submitted this document, and I feel like you've probably, Joe, you've probably regretted it from the time you did that. Okay? Because you are an honorary member of our public. You're held in high regard. And I believe that you felt bad about doing that ever since you did that. Okay? Ever since you did that, you felt bad about it. And it's time to own up to that, Joe, and to admit that that's what you did. Because, there's a legacy here, Joe, and it's, you have to take a second and just take your time and think about the legacy Joe Fontana wants to leave behind to his general public, his family, his friends. Okay? That's really what this is all about. It's a legacy, it's a public opinion, and that's what it's going to come down to. Is what does Joe Fontana want to leave as his legacy? Is this what Joe Fontana wants to leave as a legacy? How this investigation broke, it was over a $1,700 fraud. The documents in this investigation, it's going to go to court. These documents are not going to lie. These documents tell the story. But Joe Fontana never told his side of the story. Okay? Joe Fontana, he's I don't remember. I don't recall, it was a long time ago. Well, if you commit a forgery such as $1,700 and you alter this document, you submit it to the House of Commons, you remember that. You remember that, and like I said, I think you feel bad about that. And that's kind of where I'm a little bit confused, because I've investigated a lot of people and I've interviewed a lot of people. Okay, I've done this lots. And I've never sat across from somebody who was innocent and didn't tell their side of the story. Okay? I've never sat across from anybody who was innocent that didn't tell their side of the story. Okay? Never. Okay? Innocent people tell their side of the story. Okay? And I haven't heard Joe Fontana's side of this story yet. Okay?
Well, like I said, this is all first time I've seen it.
Okay. Joe, there's no doubt in my mind. There's not a doubt in my mind. You altered this document, you submitted it to the House of Commons, and you benefited. Okay, there's not a doubt in my mind. This is what happened. There's nobody else that could have done this, Joe. You did this.
Anyways, I don't want to answer any more questions.
Yes. And I appreciate that. You've done this.
Given it. It's not the first time there's been an event at the Marconi Club, and that's why the dates
Yeah.
are confusing to me.
Sure. Okay. But the event, number 2661, in this 2661, there's only one copy in existence, okay? February 25th, 2004, that's the event date for this. This document, because of its forgery, it was made, the agreement date was made long after the actual event date, months after. You were speaking in Parliament on February 25th, 2004. Okay? You didn't have a reception at the Marconi Club because you were speaking in Parliament that day. My investigators, my task force that we put together, they researched where Joe Fontana was on February 25th, 2004. You were in Parliament. You were speaking in Parliament in Ottawa. Okay? No, I'm telling you.
No, and I don't.
So there was no reception that took place. That's your signature, and that's what happened.
I'm sorry, I can't answer.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
Obviously, there was an arrest warrant took place, and there was an information laid with regards to your charges, and you know your charges. You're clear on your charges, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Obviously, this is, it's not secret that you've been now charged by the RCMP. It's gonna, this is most likely gonna attract some attention, and they're gonna want some answers. Okay, the general public is going to want some answers, and the counselors. But more importantly, aside from that, because that is outside of this room, and that really doesn't have much to do with me and you right now. It's my investigation. Okay, I'm the lead investigator. This is my investigation, and I and my team in the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, we need the answers. We need to fill in the answers. So they're going to ask for answers, and I need answers. And the general public is going to require some answers to this. And I understand that, your attorney has,
He's advised me, I think I've tried to cooperate. I think you've laid out some documents, as I've said.
Yeah.
They're new to me. I'm trying to recollect and all that sort of
Well,
stuff.
I'm going to suggest they're not new to you. But I'm going to suggest that's your signature in this document. Speaks volumes.
I don't agree, and I don't want to say anything further, so
Okay.
I'd like to speak with my lawyer.
22nd, I just have to take another one.
Me too, when you get back.
Okay.
Hey, Joe, I understand you know, wash your break, I can take it.
Oh, sure.
Okay. No problem.
it was okay that I was looking.
Absolutely, no, it was, like I said before, this shows you. As I said before, take your absolute time with these documents, you know. I meant what I said when I said, like, I followed what we said in the media, and I think it was a fair point on your part. You are not going to deal with allegations in the media with blurry versions the London Free Press, Jim Martin put forward. But these are the documents. They're not blurry anymore, if you would agree.
Well, I think they are blurry
Sure.
in a sense.
Yeah.
Blurry from, because I can't recollect, or blurry
Yeah.
in terms of their copy and so
Sure.
on and so forth, so.
Yeah, well, they're not, these are the originals.
Yeah.
There's nothing
That's
here
what
that's
it
not
said.
the originals. These were all seized with judicial authorization. I do think, I'm going to quickly just not refer to the documents, but I'm just going to walk you through it one more time. October 20th, 2004. October 20th, 2004. Okay, months before Michael's wedding. Okay, a contract was drawn. Okay, a $1,700 payment was made to the Marconi Club. That was in advance for Michael's wedding. That occurred on June 4th, 2005. From that, it was a personal payment made. Okay, from that date, March 24th, 2005, an invoice, an altered invoice from the original invoice that happened on October 20th, 2004. You submitted an altered invoice, okay? The wedding was white-outed out, it became reception, the dates changed, you added MP, and you signed over Vicky's name, and you can still see Vicky's name there, right? You can still see Vicky's name underneath there, because we have the original, but I mean, even the back copy, you can still see it, that was submitted. From there, a check was cut on April the 6th, 2005, a $1,700 check. Because you submitted that document, you submitted it, you signed it, a check got cut to the Marconi Club. April 6th, 2005, for the total balance of Michael Fontana's wedding that occurred on June 4th, 2005, and then they submitted it. They submitted all those checks along with that $1,700 government check. They submitted it, okay? The reason, as far as part of the process goes, we've interviewed Christy Pearson. We've interviewed your previous special assistant. She's explained to us the process. She's explained to us the process as to how this all works, and I know you made indications that that was a little fuzzy to you. I'm just going to go back down that road a little bit. She's explained to us the process of this altered invoice that you submitted, that's your signature. You've claimed it to be an original, and you submitted it along with this document here, okay? We've interviewed Christy Pearson. She's walked us through, part of my task force. They've interviewed Christy Pearson, and she's walked us through the process. She's very familiar with Michael Champlain. She's familiar with this document, and she's familiarized us with the process as to how this happens, okay? Through her statement, she stated that this is consistent with how that occurs, okay? So we have a statement from Christy Pearson. The last piece of the puzzle is your side of the story here, Joe, because you altered this and you did this, okay? You did this. There's nobody else that benefited here. Joe Fontana benefited. You're the only one that submitted this document. You're the only one that could have altered this document. Christie's spoken to us in regards to the process, how these documents get submitted. There's only one person that benefited from this, and that's Joe Fontana. There is a legacy here, Joe. Joe Fontana, he's legendary in the city of London, okay? I mentioned before, this city's near and dear to my heart. What legacy is Joe gonna leave behind, okay? Because you're known for, extraordinary things in this city. You're a fighter. We fought the Via Rail cuts. You know, we've done a lot of good things here. I mean, you might be the only politician.
I'd like to think so, and thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Hopefully people will remember all of the good things that I've done.
Well, and you bring up a very good point there because, you know, on your tax cut for the last 2 years, you're actually one of the only politicians I can think of off the top of my head that said they were going to stop taxes and actually did it, Joe. You did it. I mean, you tell me somebody else that said that and did that and didn't
Not
not.
everybody agreed, but thank you.
No, I know, but that you're an extraordinary mayor in the city. Okay. You said you were going to do that. That was part of your your campaign, and you've stayed true to that. You've stayed true to that.
And I've got a lot of time left to complete the job. So.
Well, and that's exactly it. And but it does come back to the legacy because you know Joe Fontana has an extraordinary legacy in the city, very well respected. You know, all these things that you've done, you're absolutely correct in that, and you've done extraordinary things in here. But what you did do is you made a mistake here. You made a bad mistake here, Joe. It was a mistake that happened a lot of years ago, and you made a mistake here. Okay, that's your signature. There's nobody else that benefited from this. This story's going to get told. This story's going to get told. But what happens here is the legacy that you're going to leave behind is you're going to be associated to this legacy now. Okay, because this story's going to get told. I'm going to tell this story in court. This story's going to get told. But the part that's not being told here is that Joe Fontana didn't tell his side of the story. Joe Fontana did not.
An opportunity when
Joe Fontana did not come clean on his side of the story. Joe Fontana did not admit to the police that he did this. Okay? He did not admit that he made a mistake. You didn't admit that you made a mistake.
I can't, because I'm not sure that I did that.
You're not sure?
I'm sorry, like I said,
You're not sure?
No, I'm confident that I'm innocent of any of these charges. I really do. You let me see the documents, you've shown me a lot of stuff. I appreciate the work that you've done. But all these documents, or you may have seen them, but this is the first time for me. All right, and my recollection 7.5 or 8 years ago as to what may or may not have happened, and so on and so forth, I mean, is rather unclear, and I think you can appreciate that, and so on. So, anyways, I'd like not to answer any more questions, if I could.
Okay. You're fine, thank you. I don't have any more questions for you, Joe. Constable Palmer does have further processing for you, and he's going to come back in the room and he's going to deal with you. Okay?
It is constable or sergeant?
Yeah, Constable.
Pleasure. Best to the kids and the family.
Thank you.
Hey, Joe, trying to check here as soon as we can. I just have to take fingerprints, which is protocol, and give you what's called promise tape here, and I'll explain all this.
Here or your office?
We're gonna go just the front. I've already checked. There's like the words on me and nothing like that.
Can I bring this?
Yeah, absolutely.